Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're jumping into one of the most powerful questions in all of American literature, straight from Langston Hughes' amazing poem, Harlem. Now, this poem is so iconic, it actually inspired Lorraine Hansberry's groundbreaking play, A Raisin in the Sun. So, what we're going to do is break down, line by line, what it really means to postpone a dream. We've got this great visual guide to help us explore every single possibility Hughes lays out for us. Let's get right into it.
So, this is it. This is the question that's at the heart of the entire poem. And it's so much more than just a line of text, right? It's a really deep question about ambition, frustration, and just the human spirit. What really happens when our biggest hopes, our deepest desires, are just put on hold? Hughes doesn't give us one easy answer. Instead, he paints a whole series of vivid, unforgettable pictures, and that's what we're going to explore.
And here's our map for today. This visual does such a great job of laying out the poem's structure. You can see on the left, you've got the dream in its pure original form. And then on the right, you have all these potential outcomes of deferring it. And right there in the middle, you've got Hughes's searing questions that connect the two. So let's walk through this together, and we're going to start with the images of decay.
Okay, so our first stop is all about what happens when a dream is just neglected, when it's left to just wither away. These first few images are about a slow, kind of sad process of corruption and loss.
Here we go. This is the very first image Hughes gives us. And it's so simple, but man, is it effective. Just picture it. A dream that was once so full of life and potential is now just left out, exposed to the harsh reality of the world, which is symbolized by the sun.
The key here really is the transformation. The dream starts out as this plump, juicy grape. It's full of promise. But when it's deferred, it just shrivels up. It becomes a lesser version of itself. It's not like it disappeared completely, but all of its vitality is just gone. This totally makes me think of Mama in A Raisin in the Sun. Her dream of buying a house for her family has been deferred for so long that while it's still there, it's definitely weathered and hardened by all those years of waiting.
All right, the imagery is getting a lot more intense with this next question. We're moving away from something just passively drying up to something that's now actively infected. A sore isn't just a mark on your skin. It's a real sign of an injury that's getting worse. It's festering.
This slide really illustrates that process perfectly. A deferred dream turns into a source of pain that just festers and becomes toxic. And then that toxicity, it spreads, poisoning everything around it. This is Ruth from A Raisin in the Sun all the way. Her dream of a happy family life is so worn down by poverty and constant struggle that it's become this source of exhaustion and bitterness that just infects her relationships.
And now we hit the peak of this whole decay sequence. This is such a powerful, almost gut punch of an image. It's impossible to ignore the smell of something that's rotten.
So this is basically the end of the line for that decay. The dream isn't just sick anymore, it's dead. And it becomes this source of rot, this foul reminder of failure that just corrupts the very air you're breathing. This really feels like Walter's despair after he loses all the insurance money. His dream isn't just deferred at that point, it's dead. And the stench of that failure just fills their tiny apartment.
But decay isn't the only thing that can happen. Hughes then shifts gears, and he asks, what if the dream doesn't rot away? What if it turns into something else entirely? Something that's maybe deceptive, or maybe just heavy?
This one is really fascinating. On the surface, it sounds almost pleasant, right? You hear sugar, sweet, but there's a real edge to it. It feels like something is being covered up.
This slide gets into a really interesting double meaning. Is the dream crusted over with this fake sweetness, hiding all the bitterness underneath? Or is it maybe more like sap that hardens over a wound on a tree, like a protective scab that's hiding a deep injury? This has to be Beneatha. Her dream of becoming a doctor is covered up by all this intellectualism and cynicism, sort of a hardened exterior to protect her from the disappointment and judgment she keeps facing. The original passion is still there, but it's trapped underneath all that crust.
And with this line, the metaphor becomes purely physical. There's no decay, there's no sweet coating, it's just weight. An immense, unbearable weight.
So, the dream is still there. It hasn't vanished, but instead of lifting you up and inspiring you, it's dragging you down. And this is the heavy load that Walter carries every single day. His dream of being a successful businessman, of providing for his family in a big way, it becomes this crushing weight, a constant reminder of what he sees as his failures, and it just makes him sag under all that pressure.
So, after all these images of decay and burden, Hughes changes direction one last time.
The whole tone shifts from this passive suffering to something way more active, more volatile, and frankly dangerous. All that energy that's been pushed down has to go somewhere, right?
This question, it just lands with incredible force. You'll notice it's set apart from the others. It's italicized, and it feels like this final, explosive possibility. All the quiet rotting and sagging is gone, and it's replaced by this sudden, violent release.
And this slide really captures the physics behind that metaphor. A dream contains energy and hope and pressure. And when you defer it, that pressure doesn't just disappear. It builds and builds and builds until the container just can't hold it anymore.
But here's maybe the most interesting part of this final question. An explosion can be totally destructive, but it can also be creative. Like the Big Bang that creates a new world. Is this burst Walter's self-destructive rage, or is it his final revolutionary decision to move his family into that new house? That's an act of defiance born from immense pressure that literally explodes the old status quo. Hughes leaves it open to us, just like the younger family's future is left uncertain.
And really, in the end, that's the genius of this poem. Hughes doesn't give us one neat little answer. He shows us a whole range of possibilities, everything from Mama's withered dream to Walter's final explosion of defiance. He hands the question right back to us. So what do you think happens to a dream deferred?